Sign here, Mother. Just your signature on these 3 pages. My brother Blake's voice drifted up the stairs as I walked toward Mom's bedroom with her morning medication. I froze on the landing. It was barely 7 in the morning. Mom had been released from the hospital just 2 days ago after her stroke. She was still confused, barely able to speak clearly. What was Blake doing in her room so early with papers? I crept closer to the partially open door, my heart pounding. Through the gap, I could see Blake leaning over Mom's bed, holding a pen toward her trembling hand. Our stepmother Candace stood on the other side, her expression cold and calculating. Mom's face looked pale and frightened. Her right hand shook as Blake guided it toward the papers. "That's it, just sign. Everything will be taken care of." Blake's tone was soothing but urgent. Something was very wrong. "My name is Fiona Brennan, and I'm 28 years old. I'd moved back home 3 months ago to help care for my mother, Helen Brennan, after her first mild stroke. I worked remotely as a graphic designer, which gave me the flexibility to be there when she needed me. Mom was 72, still sharp-minded before the strokes, and had always been independent. She'd married Candace's father, Gerald, 10 years ago after my father passed away. Gerald died 5 years later, leaving Mom his considerable estate. Blake was Gerald's son from his first marriage, making him my stepbrother. We'd never been close. Now, watching him pressure Mom to sign documents while she was barely recovered, I felt sick. I pulled out my phone quietly and started recording video through the crack in the door. Whatever was happening, I needed proof. "I don't understand," Mom mumbled, her words slurred from the stroke. "What is this?" "Just updating your will, Mother," Candace said smoothly. "Making sure everything is properly arranged. You want Blake and me taken care of, don't you?" Mom's confused expression broke my heart. She tried to pull her hand back, but Blake held it firmly. "Come on, we don't have much time. Fiona will be up soon with your medication. Let's finish this." His words made my blood run cold. They were deliberately doing this before I arrived. How long had they been planning this? I kept recording, making sure to capture their faces clearly, the papers Blake held, and Mom's obvious confusion and distress. "I should wait," Mom said weakly. "Talk to Fiona." "Fiona doesn't need to be involved in this," Blake said sharply. "This is family business. Now sign." I'd recorded about 2 minutes when I heard footsteps on the stairs behind me. I quickly stopped the video and slipped my phone into my pocket just as Candace's daughter Bryn appeared at the top of the stairs. She was 25, worked as Candace's personal assistant, and had always treated me like I didn't belong in what she considered their family. "What are you doing lurking in the hallway?" Bryn demanded. "Getting Mom's medication," I said calmly, holding up the pill organizer I'd brought from the bathroom. "Why are Blake and your mother in her room so early?" Bryn's eyes narrowed. "They're helping Grandma Helen with some paperwork, nothing that concerns you." She pushed past me and opened Mom's bedroom door fully. "Everything okay in here?" Blake looked up, annoyance flashing across his face when he saw me standing there. "Fiona, we were just finishing up." I walked into the room, my professional smile firmly in place despite my racing heart. "Finishing up what?" Mom looked at me with relief in her eyes. "Fiona, honey, they brought papers. I'm confused." I moved to her bedside, gently taking her free hand. "It's okay, Mom. Let me see what you're signing." Blake pulled the papers away quickly. "It's nothing urgent. We can do this later." "If it's nothing urgent, why were you doing it at 7 in the morning while Mom's still recovering?" I kept my voice pleasant but firm. Candace stepped forward, her expression cold. "Helen asked us to help her update some documents. This doesn't concern you, Fiona. You're not actual family." The words stung, but I didn't let it show. "Actually, I'm Mom's daughter, her actual blood relative, so yes, it concerns me very much." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Blake folded the papers and slipped them into a leather folder. "We'll come back later when Mother is feeling better." "Good idea," I said sweetly. After they left, I locked the door and sat beside Mom's bed. She was crying softly. "What did I sign?" Her words were clearer now, fear sharpening her focus. "I don't know, Mom, but I recorded video of them pressuring you. Can you tell me what happened?" She explained that Blake and Candace had come in around 6:30, waking her up. They'd told her the documents were just routine updates to her will, making sure everything was fair and equal for all the children. "But I already have a will," Mom said, gripping my hand. "Your father and I made it years ago. Then I updated it after Gerald died. Everything was split between you, Blake, and Bryn equally. Why would they need to change it now?" That question haunted me all morning. After giving Mom her medication and helping her with breakfast, I reviewed the video I'd recorded. The quality was good enough to see Blake clearly guiding Mom's shaking hand, to hear him rush her, to see Mom's obvious confusion and distress. This was evidence of undue influence at minimum, possibly elder abuse. I needed to act carefully and quickly. I called my best friend Zara, who worked as a paralegal at a law firm downtown. I need advice. I think my stepfamily is trying to manipulate my mom's will while she's recovering from a stroke. Zara listened to the whole story, then said, "You need to contact your mom's attorney immediately. Do you know who drew up her current will?" "Yes, Theodore Ashford. He handled everything after Gerald died." "Call him today. Show him the video. This is serious, Fiona." Theodore Ashford's office was in a building overlooking the harbor. I'd met him several times over the years and always found him trustworthy. His secretary scheduled an emergency appointment for that afternoon. I arranged for Mom's home health aide, a wonderful woman named Patricia, to stay with Mom while I was gone. Before I left, Blake stopped me in the hallway. "We need to talk about Mother's care." His tone was casual, but his eyes were cold. "What about it?" "Candace and I think she needs more professional care than you can provide. We're looking into facilities." My stomach dropped. "Mom doesn't need a facility. She's recovering well at home." "That's not your decision to make alone," Blake said. "We're family too. We have a say in what happens." "Actually, Mom has the say, and she wants to stay home." Blake smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "We'll see about that. Mother signed new documents this morning. Things are going to change around here." So he'd gotten her signature after all before I'd interrupted them. My hands clenched into fists, but I kept my voice level. "Mom was confused and under duress. Whatever she signed won't hold up." "That's a bold claim," Blake said softly. "Especially since you have no proof of any duress. It was just family helping family with paperwork." "We'll see," I replied, echoing his earlier words. I drove to Theodore's office, replaying that conversation in my mind. Blake was confident, which meant he believed whatever Mom had signed was legally binding. But he didn't know about my video. Theodore Ashford greeted me warmly, his concern evident when I explained why I'd come. "Show me what you recorded," he said, settling behind his desk. Theodore watched the video 3 times, his expression growing darker with each viewing. "This is clear evidence of undue influence," he said finally. "Your mother is obviously confused and being pressured to sign documents she doesn't understand while recovering from a stroke. The timing alone is suspicious." "What can we do?" I asked. "First, I need to see what documents they had her sign. Do you know if they filed anything?" Blake implied they got her signature before I interrupted. "But I don't know what the papers were." Theodore made notes on his legal pad. "I'll check with the probate court to see if any new documents have been filed under your mother's name. In the meantime, I want you to document everything. Every interaction with Blake and Candace, every time they pressure your mother, everything." He paused, looking at me seriously. "Fiona, you need to understand something. If they successfully changed your mother's will, there's likely more going on here than just inheritance issues." "What do you mean?" I asked, though I suspected I knew. "They might be planning to move quickly on other matters. Medical decisions, power of attorney, even attempting to have your mother declared incompetent so they can control her assets now rather than waiting." The thought made me feel sick. "Can they do that?" "They can try. That's why we need to act fast." Theodore stood and walked to his window. "Here's what I recommend. First, get your mother to sign a new power of attorney nomming you as her healthcare proxy and financial agent, assuming she's mentally capable. Second, have her examined by an independent physician who can document her current mental state. Third, we prepare to challenge whatever documents they had her sign this morning." I nodded, taking notes. "What about guardianship? Could they try to have themselves appointed as her guardians?" "It's possible, especially if they claim she's incompetent." "But the video you recorded works in our favor." That evening, I sat with Mom and explained everything Theodore had advised. She was more alert now, angry about being manipulated. "I should have known better," she said, tears in her eyes. "Gerald always said Blake was ambitious and Candace was calculating, but they were family, so I tried to include them, treat them fairly." "You did treat them fairly, Mom. That's not enough for some people." We spent 2 hours going through her current will with Theodore on speakerphone. Mom had indeed split her estate 3 ways between me, Blake, and Bryn. The house where we lived, worth about $800,000, her investment accounts totaling nearly $2 million and various other assets. Gerald's inheritance had been substantial. "I want to change it," Mom said firmly. "After what they tried to do this morning, I don't want them getting anything," Theodore advised caution. "If we change it too drastically right now, they could argue you're acting under Fiona's influence, just as we're arguing you acted under their influence this morning. We compromised on a new will that left me the house and 60% of the estate, with Blake and Bryn splitting the remaining 40%. It was still generous to them, but reflected Mom's disappointment in their behavior. More importantly, Mom signed a durable power of attorney nomming me as her agent for both health care and financial decisions." Theodore brought the documents to the house the next morning with 2 witnesses from his office. Everything was recorded on video, with Mom clearly stating she understood what she was signing and was doing so of her own free will. Blake and Candace appeared just as we finished. "What's going on here?" Candace demanded, seeing Theodore and his associates. "Just handling some legal matters," Mom said, her voice stronger than it had been in days. "Fiona is now my power of attorney for healthcare and finances." Blake's face turned red. "You can't do that. We're family. We should have been consulted." "I can do whatever I want with my own affairs," Mom said firmly. "Especially after you tried to manipulate me yesterday morning." Theodore stood, gathering his documents. "Mrs. Brennan has executed new legal documents of her own free will with proper witnesses and while demonstrably mentally competent. Everything is in order." After they left, Blake turned on me. "You're poisoning her against us, turning her against her own family." "I'm protecting her from people who would take advantage of her while she's vulnerable," I shot back. "There's a difference." Candace's eyes were cold. "This isn't over, Fiona. We have documents too, signed documents." "Documents obtained through coercion and undue influence," I replied. "We have evidence of that." For the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker across Blake's face. He didn't know about the video, not yet. "What evidence?" he demanded. I smiled. "You'll find out soon enough." 3 days later, Theodore called with news. "They filed a petition with the probate court. Blake and Candace are claiming your mother lacks mental capacity and requesting guardianship over her person and estate." My heart sank even though we'd expected this. "What happens now?" "There'll be a hearing. The judge will review evidence from both sides and likely order an independent evaluation of your mother's mental state. Be prepared for this to get ugly, Fiona." It did get ugly, fast. Blake and Candace hired an aggressive attorney named Hugh Stanton, who immediately filed motions questioning my fitness as power of attorney. They claimed I'd isolated Mom from her family, that I was financially motivated, that I'd unduly influenced her recent legal decisions. Stanton even suggested I'd somehow caused Mom's stroke through stress. The accusations were outrageous, but they were public record now. I had to take a leave from my design work to focus entirely on Mom's defense and care. The independent physician's evaluation happened 2 weeks later. Dr. Simone Warner spent 3 hours with Mom, conducting cognitive tests, reviewing medical records, and asking detailed questions about her understanding of her financial and legal affairs. I waited anxiously in the living room while the evaluation took place. When Dr. Warner emerged, her expression was professional but warm. "Your mother is remarkably sharp for someone recovering from 2 strokes. She clearly understands her financial situation, her family relationships, and the legal decisions she's made recently. She's oriented to time and place, her memory is good, and her judgment appears sound." Relief flooded through me. "So she's mentally competent." "In my professional opinion, absolutely. I'll be filing my report with the court stating exactly that." The hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks away. Theodore spent that time building our case, collecting medical records, depositions from Mom's doctors, character witnesses, and of course, the video I'd recorded. Blake and Candace weren't idle either. They found Mom's former housekeeper, a woman Mom had fired 2 years ago for stealing, who claimed Mom had seemed confused and forgetful even before the strokes. They had Candace's personal physician, someone who'd never actually treated Mom, suggest that stroke patients often appear more competent than they really are. They even had Bryn testify in a deposition that I'd always been jealous of Blake and had sought to turn Mom against her stepfamily. It was all lies and distortions, but it was going on the record. The stress was enormous. Mom's health actually improved during this time, probably because anger was motivating her to get stronger. She did physical therapy religiously, worked with a speech therapist to improve her communication, and documented everything she did to prove her competence. The day before the hearing, Theodore came to the house to prepare us for what would happen in court. The judge will hear testimony from both sides, Theodore explained. They'll present their case first since they're the petitioners. Expect them to paint a picture of Fiona as manipulative and you, Helen, as vulnerable and confused. We'll counter with medical evidence, the independent evaluation, and character witnesses. But our strongest evidence is the video Fiona recorded. Mom squeezed my hand. I'm ready. I want that judge to know exactly what Blake and Candace tried to do. The courthouse was downtown in a historic building with marble floors and high ceilings. The courtroom itself was smaller than I'd expected, wood-paneled and formal. Blake, Candace, and Bryn sat on one side with their attorney Hugh Stanton. Mom and I sat with Theodore on the other side. The judge, a woman named Catherine Reeves, reviewed the files before her with a stern expression. This is a petition for guardianship based on alleged mental incapacity, she began. Mr. Stanton, present your case. Stanton called Blake to the stand first. My stepbrother looked respectable in his suit, his voice earnest as he testified about his concern for Mother Helen. She's been confused since the stroke, Blake said. Forgetting conversations, getting disoriented, making impulsive decisions. We're worried about her well-being and about Fiona's influence over her. Theodore cross-examined carefully. Mr. Morrison, you refer to Helen as mother, but she's actually your stepmother, correct? Your father Gerald married her 10 years ago. Yes, but I think of her as my mother. How often did you visit Helen before her first stroke 3 months ago? Blake hesitated. I'm not sure exactly. Every few weeks maybe. According to Helen's calendar, you visited twice in the 12 months before her stroke. Does that sound right? Blake shifted uncomfortably. I was busy with work. Theodore's calm questions revealed that Blake had minimal contact with Mom before her health issues, but suddenly became very concerned about her welfare after she inherited Gerald's estate. Candace testified next, painting herself as a devoted stepdaughter worried about her elderly stepmother's vulnerability. Fiona has always been somewhat possessive of Helen, Candace claimed. She resented Gerald and our family. Now she's using Helen's illness to shut us out completely. It was infuriating to sit there and listen to these lies, but Theodore was brilliant on cross-examination. Ms. Hammond, you lived in this community for 10 years while married to Gerald. How many of Helen's friends can you name? Candace blinked. I'm not sure what you mean. Helen has a close group of friends she's known for decades. Bridge club, book club, volunteer work. Name 3 of her friends. Candace couldn't. She didn't know the names of Mom's doctors either, or what medications she took, or even her birthday. Theodore systematically demonstrated that despite living in the same house for years, Candace knew almost nothing about Mom's actual life. Then it was our turn to present evidence. Theodore called Dr. Warner first. The physician testified about her extensive evaluation and her conclusion that Mom was mentally competent. Mrs. Brennan clearly understands her financial affairs, her family relationships, and the implications of her legal decisions. She's recovering well from her strokes and shows no signs of the kind of impairment that would warrant guardianship. Stanton tried to undermine her testimony, but Dr. Warner held firm. Mom's regular physician, Dr. Paul Chen, testified next, confirming Mom's improvement and competence. Then Theodore called me to the stand. I explained how I'd moved home to help Mom, the care I provided, and what I'd witnessed that morning 3 months ago. Tell the court what you saw, Theodore prompted. I described walking toward Mom's room with her medication and seeing Blake and Candace pressuring her to sign documents while she was confused and scared. What did you do? Theodore asked. I recorded video of what was happening, I said. I knew something was wrong and I wanted proof. Stanton objected immediately. Your Honor, this alleged video hasn't been properly disclosed or authenticated, Theodore responded calmly. The video was included in our evidence filing 2 weeks ago. Mr. Stanton has had ample time to review it. Judge Reeves consulted her notes. The video is in evidence. I'll allow it. The courtroom lights dimmed slightly as Theodore played the video on a large screen. Everyone watched Blake lean over Mom's bed, holding the pen toward her shaking hand, urging her to sign quickly before I arrived with medication. Mom's confused, frightened voice asking what she was signing. Candace's cold insistence that they didn't have much time. Blake's words, Fiona will be up soon, let's finish this. The video was damning. When it ended, the courtroom was silent. Judge Reeves leaned forward. "Mr. Morrison, that's you in the video." Blake's face had gone pale. "Yes, but it's not what it looks like. It looks like you're pressuring a stroke patient to sign legal documents while she's confused," Judge Reeves said sharply. Theodore pressed his advantage. "Your Honor." This video clearly shows undue influence and possible elder abuse. The petitioners claim to be concerned about Mrs. Brennan's vulnerability, yet they're the ones who attempted to exploit that vulnerability for their own gain. Stanton tried to recover. "Your Honor, my clients were simply trying to help Mrs. Brennan with routine paperwork. Their intentions were good even if their timing was poor." "Their timing was calculated," Theodore countered. "They deliberately chose a moment when Mrs. Brennan was alone and vulnerable, before her daughter could intervene. This isn't concerned family members helping with paperwork. This is manipulation." Judge Reeves called for a brief recess. When we returned, her decision was swift. "Based on the evidence presented, particularly the independent medical evaluation and the video testimony, I find that Helen Brennan is mentally competent to make her own legal and financial decisions. The petition for guardianship is denied." Relief flooded through me. Mom gripped my hand tightly, tears streaming down her face. But Judge Reeves wasn't finished. "Furthermore, I'm troubled by what I've seen in that video. I'm referring this matter to Adult Protective Services for investigation of possible elder abuse. Mr. Morrison, Ms. Hammond, you should be aware that attempting to coerce a vulnerable adult into signing legal documents is a serious matter." Blake and Candace looked stunned. They'd come to court expecting to gain control of Mom's estate. Instead, they were facing an investigation. Outside the courthouse, Theodore was cautiously optimistic. "The guardianship petition is defeated, but stay vigilant. They could try other approaches." He was right to be cautious. 2 days later, we received notice that Blake and Candace were challenging Mom's new will, claiming undue influence. But we had Dr. Warner's evaluation, the video of Theodore's witnesses, and clear evidence of Mom's competence when she signed. The challenge went nowhere. 6 months later, Adult Protective Services completed their investigation and filed charges against Blake for attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. 1 year after that terrible morning when I'd recorded Blake pressuring Mom, we sat together on the back porch watching the sunset. Mom's recovery had been remarkable. She still had some weakness on her right side, but her mind was sharp and her spirit was stronger than ever. "I've been thinking about the will again," Mom said. I tensed, but she smiled. "Relax, I'm not changing anything major, I just want to add something." She decided to leave a significant donation to the local senior center in Gerald's name and to establish a fund to help families dealing with elder abuse cases. "Gerald would be horrified by what his son tried to do," Mom said softly, "but he'd be proud that something good came from it." Blake pleaded guilty to the elder abuse charges and received probation. Candace and Bryn moved to another state, cutting ties completely. Sometimes I wondered if I should feel guilty about how everything turned out. But then I remembered Mom's frightened face that morning and Blake's urgent voice pushing her to sign before I could intervene. I'd protected my mother when she needed me most. That video I'd recorded had saved her independence, her dignity, and her freedom. Sometimes the smallest actions, like pulling out your phone to record what's happening, can change everything.